coming out of my experiences, very actively involved in Alaskan politics, very actively involved in actually seeing ballots that were cast during races. I can tell you that there was very little effort taken in the legislature, very little effort taken by the executive on this critical issue. And it is just as you said, whether or not the concerns that we raised, for example, ballot access prior to votes, we proved that. I mean, we had affidavits galore that showed that ballots before elections that I participated in were accessed. And yet there was still, and again, maybe there have been some internal changes in the division of elections that have made adjustment to that. But when you have people that were in the numbers of hundreds involved in that process and saw the type of things that went on, and then they bring that home, to their communities. They talk about it, at the district level in party politics. They talk about it on social media. It leads to a lack of confidence that is very, very destructive to the body politic. And so anybody that is going to get my support, and this is not a pitch for you or for me to have you get support. I'm not at that stage, but it is a critical issue, not just in the state of Alaska, obviously, but we saw across the nation how there are so many people that are very convinced that this is a problem. And part of it is, of course, when you're dealing with electronic stuff, it's just like digital IDs and the like. If somebody else has control of it, it's very difficult for you to kind of strip away the black box where all this occurs and say, I can actually see how this happens. And so it's the unknown. And that's one of the reasons why I've always gone back to the simplistic. It's like, okay, so we have a lack of confidence. I mean, in some polling, it showed that 2/3 of Republicans, for example, didn't trust electronic voting, and there's similar levels even on the Democrats. Why not just go back to a paper vote? For crying out loud, the Argentinians did it. They counted all their votes in about a night, and they were able to do it effectively. And this idea that, it takes too long. Now, I will admit, with ranked choice voting, it makes it more difficult. And I think that was part of the reason why ranked choice voting was provided to the state. I mean, not just to perpetuate an incumbent senator that we have, but it was also there because it makes it much more complex to try to create vote integrity. And, obviously, I'd love to see that repealed for that basis alone. There's even questions about whether or not that was passed appropriately. But I think that our chief executive in the state needs to have an understanding that unless we address this issue that is such a huge, huge focal point for so many Alaskans, it is going to lead to more passivity, lack of involvement, and that's very unhealthy for our state.